Welcome to Back to Basics, a podcast where we return to the wisdom that has been with us from the very beginning. In a culture that's drifting further from the truth, we're finding our footing again in faith, family, and the timeless ideals that lead to true physical, spiritual, and emotional health. Join us weekly as we explore candid conversations with leading health industry experts, thought leaders, and healers as we get back to the basic values that make for a healthier world. I'm Anna Montanaro, your host, and you're listening to Back to Basics. All right, everyone, welcome back to Basics. I am so excited to sit down for this week's episode. We are talking to Savanna Stone. If you do not know who she is, take out your phone immediately, look her up on Instagram, follow her. She has the best takes when it comes to marriage, dating, sex, all of the cooking. Honestly, she's a great cook. All of the things. I'm obsessed with her, and I know that you're going to be too. So Savanna, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Me too. Okay, let's start off hot. Let's ruffle some feathers. My first question for you is, should wives submit to their husbands? And if yes, why?
Absolutely. And I'm a Christian, so I'm going to come from a faith-based standpoint. And the fact is that marriage is the only relationship in the world that exemplifies our relationship with Christ. So Christ lays his life down for the church, for his people, as the husband ought to be willing to lay down his life for the wife. And then we as Christ people submit to God as the wife submits to her husband. And I think what's happened is just this term submission has been spun by feminism, quite honestly, progressivism, and it's become like this slavery term where people use it to justify abusive marriages, which is obviously not biblical. But to me, submission is just saying, I trust you to lead us well. It's me saying, I don't have all the answers. And I also, I surrender to God. And so if I'm surrendered to God, then I'm going to trust the man that God has placed in my life to lead me. So I think women that are very, they're not like, they don't like the idea of a submissive role. They don't like the idea of trusting their husband to lead them. I would ask them, well, what's your relationship with God like? Are you surrendered to God, or do you trust him? Because if you don't trust your husband that God has placed in your life, well, then you don't trust God. So that, I think it's super important. Not only does it show people our relationship with Christ, but it also just makes the dynamic so much better because men need respect. They need you to trust them. And when you say things like, hey, whatever you think, like, I completely trust you, it elevates your man into a place where he feels respected. And therefore, he will do more things that make you respect him even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've seen some of your stuff where you're like talking about the comments on videos where a woman is just like cooking dinner for her husband, and then there's 5 comments that are like, is he bothering you, queen? Or like, I would never do that. Oh, are you okay? Blink twice if you need help. I think this concept of submission is so unfathomable to a lot of women, because they don't know the Bible, they're not religious, they don't have a relationship with God. But even more so, it's unfathomable to them that their husbands would, like you said, lay down their lives for them, So they're sitting on the internet seeing a woman say, oh, you should submit to your husband because your husband would die for you. And they're like, my husband wouldn't even take out the trash if I asked him to. It's such a memeified version of a relationship where it's like there is one side where it seems so extreme, like, oh, I'm in submission to my husband, versus the other side is like, oh, my husband is totally cucked by me.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, when we talk about he wouldn't lay down his life for me, he won't even take out the trash. Maybe he won't do chores around the house because you act like his mother. Like, I know women that literally write chore lists and put them on the fridge for their husband. And it's like, that's not your child, that's your husband. So there should be no sort of like like they're not going to do the chores around the house if you constantly nag them about the chores. Because if you don't respect a man, he will always respond in self-defense because they need that respect. It's the same thing with women. Like, we need to feel desired. We need to feel cherished. And when we're not feeling those things, we're also going to respond in self-defense. So I think women just in general need to understand the masculine side a little bit more and understand that men are not us. They are not women. They're completely different, and they have their own needs and desires as well.
I mean, I completely agree with you. what do you feel like for those women who are listening to this and who are like, oh, I can't even imagine submitting to my husband because he won't do X, Y, and Z? You kind of get into this circular situation where it's like, who takes the first step to embody that sort of relationship where the wife is submitted to the husband and the husband is in full submission to Christ? Who takes the first step? Is it the woman? Is it the man? What does that look like in your opinion?
100% the woman. I think that women don't realize how much power that they have in their own relationships. And what you'll notice is a lot of couples, they'll go to marriage counseling to try to fix something. And then the wife sits in marriage counseling, and the whole time you're telling a stranger all the flaws about your husband. And usually you're not telling all the flaws about yourself. Maybe you do nag him all the time. Maybe you write him chore lists. Maybe you act like his mother. Maybe you have zero respect for your man. So in turn, he's going to act in self-defense. I think a few just practical things that women can practice is restoring that respect in your marriage, saying things like, whatever you think, no matter how much you want to say your opinion and say he's wrong or it's your way or the highway. If there's a decision, saying things like, I trust you, whatever you think, he'll be like, oh my gosh, she respects me. Like it instantly changes. And men are very smart. We don't give them enough credit, but they know when you disrespect them. They know when you completely lack respect for them. Another question that women can ask themselves is, what was I thinking when I said yes to marrying this man? Because if you married this man, you chose him. And so therefore I know that he's a good man because you chose to marry him. And so, years down the line in marriages, women will say, well, maybe I was too young. Maybe I was too naive. I didn't know all these things about him. And what happens is a lot of times either they just lost respect for their husbands. They're not practicing enough self-care. They're not taking care of themselves enough. Several other reasons that can happen. But I think a lot of times women try to spin it on their man versus looking internally and taking that accountability and saying, well, what can I do to change our relationship?
Totally. Yeah. That brings me perfectly to the next point because every time I have a conversation like this, Savanna, there are comments that are, well, you just married a perfect man. You just married a perfect man, so you don't get it. You don't understand the struggle. You just married a guy who already embodies all of these things. Or, you got married and he just stepped into the role. What do you have to say to things like that?
I would say that all of us have our flaws. Every single wife, every single husband has their flaws. And the first thing that women can change is these comments and the way that they speak about their husband. Because I get the same comments where it's like, well, I get this comment from family members because I'll talk to family members about marriage and they'll be like, well, Noah is just such a perfect man. And that's why you're so lucky. And that's why your relationship is so good. Little do they know that in the beginning of my marriage, I struggled a lot with control. I struggled a lot with wanting things done my way. And I saw the effect that it had on my husband. Now that I've reversed that, and obviously I still have my flaws, I still struggle with things. But now that I've really focused on the respect that I have for my husband, now that I've surrendered to God and to his will, my relationship has completely changed. Not only has it made my husband more successful, more masculine, more grounded, but our intimacy is so much stronger as well.
Yeah. I think that I heard this the other day from a priest, that women in a marriage have their tendency, if left unchecked, is to go towards control, and men's tendency, if left unchecked, is actually to go towards passivity. And we see that so early on, right? Where you sit down the second you get engaged and you start talking about a wedding, and a guy's like, well, whatever you think. And a woman jumps into planning mode. And then you buy a home or you move into a new apartment, and the woman plans the whole apartment, gets all the furniture, does all the design work that she likes. And the guy is like, I mean, yeah, babe, whatever you think. How do we sort of, check ourselves on those two roles, especially as a woman? These are mostly women that are going to be listening to this. How, as a woman, do we check ourselves on control? And then secondary to that, how do we start to bring in the man to decision making?
I think the first step is obviously self-awareness. Like you said, I don't think women realize that everything in society and in marriage has been set up in their favor for their personal preference and their personal happiness. So like, I mean, before my husband and I ended up getting kind of like eloped micro wedding sort of thing in a church. But originally we were planning a wedding, and I was like sitting down with my mom and dad, and I was like, no, I wanted this venue and this catering and this and this and this. And my dad checked me and he was like, you're being so controlling. Are you asking Noah what he wants? Like
Ugh,
you're
yeah.
extremely domineering. And I was like, at the time I was like, no, dad, like be quiet. But now I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you were so right. Like the way that society is set up is always in the woman's favor. And women will respond to this and say, well, it is about my happiness, but no, it's not about your happiness all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is about, okay, what is logically going to be best for our marriage and best for the family? And a lot of times that's not spending $200,000 on a wedding. And so we as women tend to think more emotionally, and men tend to think more logically. That is just a fact. And when emotion is present, there's no logic there. And so that's why men need to be involved in every single household decision, even with things like decorating. I think it's
Yeah.
so silly that we were under this notion that women should just decorate the whole house and men shouldn't have any say. I'm like, if he wants to hang his deer head in the house that he killed, like went out and hunted and killed, he can hang the deer head in the house. You know,
Yeah.
it's just so ridiculous. So yes, self-awareness. And then number two, just realizing that the more that you make decisions as a woman, even with the little things, the more passive your man will become. Versus when you say things like, whatever you think, or what do you think about this? Like he's instantly going to be elevated into that leadership role because you're respecting his decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said earlier, a lot of women get, 5, 10, 15 years into a marriage and they look at their partner and they're like, who is this soy boy that I married? Like, who is this passive, effeminate man who's behaving like a woman who can't make a decision to save his life that I married? This isn't attractive. And I think, speaking from experience, that is a moment where you have to look deep within and say, who is the beast that I created? Because a lot of these men, again, like men are hardwired to please us. They want to make us happy. So if they see that being passive makes us happy, they are going to continue to be passive. And then all of a sudden, yeah, you get to the point where you're like, wait, ew, I'm not attracted to you. I don't like this behavior. You're not making any decisions. And that's kind of partially on you, if not fully on you as a woman.
100%. I completely agree. And it's kind of like this vicious cycle as well, where when a woman steps up into that very like domineering role, the man will automatically become more passive. And as the man becomes more passive, then the woman feels like she has to continue to step up into that leadership role. So it's just this cycle that goes along. But I truly think that women can change a lot of that by simply just respecting him and letting him make the decision.
Yeah. What do you think feminism has done to marriages? How do you think that feminism has empowered women to act in their marriages? And, it was sold to us as this idea that, like, this is going to solve all your problems. You're going to be empowered. You're going to be so much happier. Do you think women are happier in their marriages because of modern day feminism?
Well, we know women aren't happier in general. It's called the paradox of female happiness, where technically we have more freedoms than ever in society, but yet we are unhappier than ever as women. And I think when it comes to marriage, I mean, number one, they've told women not to get married, that marriage is not important, that you should wait until after you're at a stable place in your career, way later into your 30s. And you and I both know that infertility is happening younger and younger. And
Yeah.
so why was there never a solution where it was like, well, why don't you get married and have kids first and then go into your career? You can always come back to your career. You're not always going to be able to find the man of your dreams, and you're not always going to be able to have children. And I just don't think we're realistic about that enough. So that's number one, what feminism has done is it's kind of ruined marriage and family for women in general. And then number two, kind of going back to what we were talking about as far as feminism and marriage, it's put women on this pedestal to where they're the prize and everything should be done for them, and everything should be conducive to their happiness and never something that's logical, and they should be in charge of the finances, and it's like they should be the breadwinner, and the man should be okay with that. And if he's not, then he's insecure. And a woman, she can still go out with her girlfriends at the club and drink and flirt with guys, and it's fine, but the man can't do that. He can't do that at all. That's terrible. He should have to listen to his woman. So many things. I mean, we could go on and on, but I think in general, if we look at the beginning of the feminist movement, it was very anti-family and anti-marriage and anti-Christian from the start. No one knows that either. They think it was this idea of equality, But I mean, look where this whole equality thing has gotten us. We have people and we have politicians saying that women are birthing people and not mothers, and who can't answer a question about if men can get pregnant, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where this whole equality thing has gotten us. And the reality is we are not equal. We have the same value because we're God's children, but we're not equal, and we shouldn't be treated as equal, meaning sameness in society, because we're not the same.
Yeah. I mean, and that alone is going to press some people, right? Oh, what
Yeah.
do you mean we're not equal? What do you mean we're okay? Why don't you look at the amount of men that go into combat roles in the military? Why don't you look at men that are going and working on the oil rig that become firefighters? Like men disproportionately do these jobs that are more dangerous, but also preserve our ability to have a functioning society. And I think that, again, that doesn't mean that women are less equal. It means that we are, equal in value, but we're very different in role. And the way that this inversion of society has happened, again, like you said, to put women's preferences at the top of the social hierarchy, it hasn't made women happier. It's truncated a timeline that does exist for all of us, right? Like eventually we are all going to hit menopause and not be able to have children. And it looks very different when you're 17 or 22 than it does when you're 42 and being told, sorry, there's nothing that we can do for you. And so I think like my message, and I know that this is part of your message too, is like the last thing that I want is for a woman to get to that point in her life and think to herself, wow, I wish I would have made really different decisions. Because like you said, you can always go back to a career. You can always create a career. You can't always have children. You can't always find the man of your dreams. You can't always build a family, which is the biggest legacy that most of us will ever have.
Exactly. You're spot on. And it's just so interesting to me. And I mean, it's on purpose. You and I both know that the fact that the birth rate has dropped significantly, the fact that women's happiness is just on the steady decline, this is all on purpose because they've reversed our natural biology and told us that we shouldn't listen to that natural biology. And I've heard so many women get into their later 30s and come out and share their stories and say, I wish that I would have prioritized marriage and family younger because this career was always going to be here. Or they're working a corporate job and at any time they can be replaced by their boss. Oh, budget cuts, you're fired. Okay,
Yeah.
well, your family is always going to be at home. Your kids will always be yours. Your home will always be yours. That corporate job is not always going to be there.
Yeah. Why do you think that women are so much more willing to submit to a boss than they are to submit to their husband?
Well, they say things like, well, because my boss pays me, so I have to do what he says. But I'm like,
That is so
your
wild.
husband is providing for you. He's putting a roof over your head. He's still paying you, right?
Yes.
If you're married, it's your money and your bank accounts. And if he's making money, it's still going to you. So that logic
Right.
never makes sense to me. I don't understand the idea of listening to everything that a male boss says, and then you come home and refuse to cook for your husband or refuse to follow his leadership. I think it's silly. But again, their logic is just, well, my boss pays me and he's in charge of me, which is just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it literally makes zero sense. And I think that again, it's the way that society has organized a lot of women to make them think like, oh, that order of reporting makes sense, right? Oh, that it makes sense for me to do what my boss says because my boss has a lot of bearing on my life as if the person that you chose to spend the rest of your life with doesn't, right? My boss has a lot of authority over my life. When in reality, it's like the person that you lay your head to rest next to every single night has more to do with your success or your failures in life than anyone else.
100% true.
Allow me to set the scene for you. The year is 2019, and I'm on a date in the West Village, looking across the table, wondering how exactly I ended up here. Sure, he's a nice, well meaning young man, but I'm finding myself less and less attracted to him as we enter minute 15 of him talking about the rave he went to last weekend, where he dyed his hair bleach blonde and got matching tattoos with Diplo. I'm not joking. Days later, I listened to a Huberman Lab podcast where he discussed how hormonal birth control can actually impact mate selection. And suddenly, everything made sense. I needed to ditch the zero and get with a hero. This enlightenment sent me down a rabbit hole of research, which led me to Natural Cycles, the first FDA cleared non hormonal birth control app that's 93% effective with typical use and 98% effective when used as intended. Natural Cycles is simple. You monitor your temperature overnight with a compatible wearable, sync the data to the Natural Cycles app in the morning, and the app analyzes it to tell you your fertility status for the day and personalize cycle insights. If the app tells you that you're within your fertile window, which are called red days, and you're trying to avoid pregnancy, you should either abstain or use protection. What I also love is that the app has different modes depending on where you're at in your fertility journey, whether that's birth control, planning for pregnancy, postpartum, or even perimenopause. So you can really tailor the experience to your body and your needs. If you're ready to make the switch, you can head to naturalcycles.com and use code FEELWELL by Anna at checkout for a discount on an annual subscription and a free NC band at checkout. That's naturalcycles.com, code FEELWELL by Anna. Thank you to Natural Cycles for sponsoring this episode. Natural Cycles is for 18 plus and does not protect against STIs. Always read and follow the instructions for use. Okay, so how does all of this roll into sex in a relationship? Because I have noticed that a lot of the women who have this approach in their relationship of control, of being domineering, of having that like Jezebel spirit, if you will, they're also in sexless relationships or relationships that aren't sexually satisfying to them at all. So how have you seen it become more sexually satisfying in your relationship as you stepped out of that control and kind of let your man lead?
Well, biologically, women cannot be sexually attracted to someone that they don't respect, right? Like
Mm,
someone that they have to basically be the mother of, which is why mothers aren't sexually attracted to their children. That would be extremely demented anyways. But when
yeah.
you have to take care of someone and you're in that leadership role, you really can't be attracted to them. But when you gain that respect, which I've always had respect for my husband, but when I was more controlling, it was harder to be sexually attracted because I was stepping up into that role instead of allowing him to do what he needed to do as a man. And so not only does the respect make you more sexually attracted, but I think a lot of these women too. And every single time I talk about sex, and you would think when you tell women to have more sex with their husbands, you would think that they would be like, yes, I love having sex with my husband, but it's a completely different response from these types of women. It's marital rape, it's abuse if I don't give a verbal yes. It's if what if I'm tired? What if I don't feel good? Just like all these excuses out of the book. I think a big reason is because this, women's hormones are completely wrecked. They're like,
Yeah.
I just don't feel sexually attracted to my husband, but I also take this pill that suppresses ovulation. But I don't think there's any correlation between the two. And I'm like, yeah, there's a correlation between the two. If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't eat right, the things that we use on our bodies, if you don't work out, if you're not confident within the way that you look, all of that can affect how sexually attracted you are to your husband, right? So a lot of it is hormone health. The other thing is the respect issue. The other thing is the feminism idea of women being in control of the bedroom. And I
Mm.
don't understand why it's such an issue to have sex with the man who has committed his entire life for you, that is maybe providing half the income, all the income, supporting your lifestyle, who would literally lay down his life for you. I don't understand that, but it's also a benefit to the woman. So I don't, when you say like, hey, you should have sex with your husband, and they throw this big tantrum, it's like, well, do you not enjoy having sex with him in the first place? Because that's one of
Absolutely.
the issues as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what it boils down to a lot of the time is I think a lot of people, and this is a whole other conversation, honestly, but like a lot of people don't value sexuality as a part of a relationship enough to really put investment into it. And so I've had the same
Yeah.
thing. I'll never forget a few years ago, I was doing a Q&A and someone said like, I feel like my libido is wrecked and I never want to have sex with my husband. And every time he touches me in a sexual way, it actually like upsets me. And I just said, I was like, listen, I think your husband's trying to connect with you and I think you should have sex with him. Like, I think even if you don't want to sometimes, and I know that that is a very controversial statement, but I 100% stand by it, where it's like, what if your husband walked into the room after you had had a long day and you wanted to verbally share with him about your day and he just put up his hand and said, I'm not interested in that right now. I don't want to hear a word about
Yeah.
it. That would feel abusive to you. Like genuinely that would feel emotionally abusive to some women. That is what a man feels when you deny him sex constantly.
Exactly. And it's always for silly reasons. It's
Yeah.
always like, I don't feel like it. I'm watching my show. Just like silly stuff. I get it if you have the stomach bug, like if you have the flu,
Right.
there's so many other things for, and your husband, a good man will respect that, right? But I'm talking about the women who just don't feel like it. There's a lot of things that I don't feel like doing. I really don't feel like doing the dishes every night. I really don't, sometimes I don't really want to cook. Sometimes I don't want to clean my house. But guess what? I do those things because I take care of my home. I take care of my marriage. My husband likes a clean home. There's just so many different things that we as humans have to do things that we don't want to do sometimes. Most of the time, though, you should want to have sex with your husband. And I would say if most of the time you're not wanting to have sex with your husband, there's a libido hormone issue or a respect issue, or like something is wrong with the intimacy in your relationship. But it's just so backwards that women expect everything from their men, but something as simple as sex with your husband is like this big issue that they blow out of proportion. I've been canceled multiple times for saying stuff about sex, for saying women should not deny their husband's sex. It's
Yeah.
always this big issue, but you would think that it would just be like, oh yeah, I enjoy sex with my husband. I should have more sex with them. And the research shows us that married couples who have more sex are usually more successful. They're more in shape. They have a stronger connection. They have better kids. Like the research is just endless on this. So it's so important to marriage. And I don't think we talk about it enough.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when you have this take, it does come off, or it can, depending on who's on the receiving end of it, as an
Yeah.
assault on someone else's opinion, right? But I think whenever I have felt that in my life where I'm really activated by another person's opinion, I'm like, wait, is that true? Is that why I'm bothered? Is it the truth that I should be trying to prioritize pleasing my husband over, the Bravo TV show that I'm addicted to, or scrolling on my phone? I saw something the other day that said, like, you say how much you love your partner. You say that you would lay down your life for your partner. Okay, would you put your phone down for your partner when they're trying to talk to you? Would you turn off the show when they're trying to have sex with you? Would you do these like very small in the grand scheme of things that take your relationship from here to here? And they
Yeah.
are small incremental things. Don't you agree?
It's very small.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean is it's like if you're a little bit tired, it becomes this big deal of having sex with your husband, and they'll even call it abusive if he just starts caressing you. But
Gosh.
I'm like, God forbid my husband touch me. I just
Yeah.
don't understand that, because like my husband, he has all of me. Like I belong to him, right? Like
Mm.
what's the verse in Ephesians that I'm thinking of? Like you basically become one flesh,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It says that in the Bible, you become one flesh. And so to deny my husband sex constantly would just be so twisted. Also, I don't think we talk enough about like the oxytocin release for men is so much greater than for women. And also, if you're in an argument, like the best thing you can do is have sex, because the man
Amen.
will usually forget why he's even mad.
Yeah.
That's the effect that it had. That's why God created it for marriage, because that's the effect that it has on a relationship.
Maybe this is just me, but I'm curious what your opinion is. The large majority of conflicts, like I would say as high as 90% of the conflicts in my marriage are because of me. Are
Yeah.
because like I am about to get my period and I'm feeling moody and just like a little bit, just want to ruffle the feathers a little bit. And I know that that is not great, but men for the most part are very simple creatures, right? They're not activated. They're not fighty. And they basically need to have sex, eat, sleep, and have a purpose. So how do you, in your marriage, because I see you nodding your head that you're similar to me in this way, how do you sort of check yourself when you're getting a little fighty with your husband and say, like, is this worth it or not?
Oh, it's hard, especially around that time of the month.
Yes.
I'm trying this thing where I don't tell my husband when I'm about to start my period because
Yeah.
I noticed in the past that I would get like a little and then
Yeah.
tell him that I'm about to start my period so that I would have an excuse to continue being. But now I'm
Mm,
just like, I just don't say anything. And so that I don't have that like subconscious excuse
yeah.
to fight and be. But I mean, a lot of times it's hormones around that time of the month, but we also need to control our attitudes, like need to control our words. I've definitely gotten better about this. I'm a bit of a firecracker, if you can't tell from social media. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times, like if I'm already heated and angry about something, I tend to take that out on my husband. And so I've just had to like go sit alone or go do
Mm,
a workout or a walk, like just things that will calm you down and not speaking as soon as you think of something. I think as women, when we react emotionally, we say things that we regret, obviously, because when we're in a heightened emotion state, that can obviously cause us to say things that we regret. So I will just go read or go for a walk or go do a workout, be like, hey, I just need like 20 minutes. I'll be right
yeah.
back before I
Yeah.
say anything I regret.
Yeah. Do you think that women play a role in how monetarily successful their husband is?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The right woman will make a man extremely successful. Like she will elevate him into someone that he couldn't be on his own. But the wrong woman will completely destroy him and his reputation.
Mm,
Completely. So that's also why it's so important that we're careful with our words and that we're respectful and encouraging because like you said, men are very simple creatures. The encouragement that they get from the woman that knows them best is unlike anything on this world. Me just telling my husband, thank you for working so hard. I'm so proud of you. I'm so blessed that you're my husband. Like, you're such a good man. Just saying things like that, I mean, it changes our relationship. And it elevates him into a man with purpose because he knows that he's making me happy. He's providing for me. He's building our life for a future family. And so it's just those simple little things that I think we forget a lot of times. I posted a video yesterday about the fact that we just need to say thank you more about
yeah.
about everything. I mean, him coming home from work, I'm just like, thank you for going to
Yeah.
work today. You don't have to do that, but you do it for me and you do it for our family. And so I just being more grateful and practicing that gratitude and respect changes everything.
Yeah. I was thinking about this recently because I think that in my head that I'm someone who is super encouraging of my husband. And I think he would say the same thing. But I was like, how can I really take this one step further? So the other day, he was at work and I sent him a text that was literally like, I mean, it wasn't a novel by any means, but I basically said what you were saying. I'm so grateful for the way that you provide for our family. I am so excited to see it was like at the beginning of the year. I was like, I'm so excited to see the ways that you lead our family this year to even more success and even better experiences than what we've had in the past 365 days. And I'm just so proud of you as a man. And when I tell you, his response was like, oh my gosh, where did this come from? Like, that means so much to me. Thank you. I love you and I'm obsessed with you and I would do anything for you. And that is the kind of thing that, like, when a man sees that and hears that, it is so nurturing to his soul. He would crawl over glass to make your wishes and dreams come true when you speak to him that way. And I think we underestimate that. Like, again, like I said, I'm someone who is pretty baseline, very encouraging, and cares so much about my husband feeling like I'm that way towards him. But the more you do it, the honestly, like, the more successful and the better they become. It's wild.
It's so true. Well, like you were saying earlier, men desire nothing more than just to make us happy as their
Mm.
woman. And when you're already happy from the maybe you're just getting married, it's like the little success he has. And when you express gratitude and you express respect for the things that he's done, it motivates him to keep going to make you even happier. But when you have a woman who's very entitled and ungrateful and doesn't appreciate the little things and she just keeps nagging him to make more money and this isn't enough and I want this house and this car and this bag, that completely turns him away from wanting to make you happy. So this is not manipulative, but the way to get what you want as a woman is just to keep expressing that you're already happy, because it's okay, man,
Wow.
to keep making you more happy.
Yep. Absolutely. Do you think that women should take care of themselves for their husbands? I posted something a few weeks ago, like, you know how everyone was doing the ins and outs at the beginning of the year, and one of my outs was sweatpants. And people got so pressed because they were like, "What do you mean sweatpants are out?" And I'm like, "Listen, do I mean 100% out? No. Sometimes will we be vegging and I'll throw on a pair of sweatpants, sure. But when my husband comes home from work, I want to be looking good for him. I don't want to be looking like a slob kebab and like I've been laboring all day, even though I have been, right? I want to look good. I want him to come home to a peaceful, clean home where he has like a hot wife who's excited to see him. Do you think that women should do that, or do you think it's okay to just kind of let yourself go once you're married?
No, I 100% believe in self-care.
Yeah.
And this is another one that triggers women a lot of times. And I think it's the comments are just people projecting their own insecurities. Like you said earlier, something that I say all the time is if something upsets someone, it's because they know it's true. Otherwise, you would just scroll past and let it go
Yeah.
by you. But when you see a beautiful woman on Instagram who has everything going for her, and she's like, "Hey, I think you should take care of yourself or your husband. I've been working all day. I have my own business and I still do it." And, it's like, well, you don't have 5 kids.
There's always a new elevation. It's like, oh, get back to me when you've got 3 under 3, or, get back to me when you have a 9 to 5 and also 2 children and a dog. It's like, there's always another level of hardship when it's like, actually, like, hot take, I know myself. And even amongst those things, I've been in harder seasons of my life and I have still made taking care of myself a priority. And I think everyone should.
I 100% agree. Well, even if we talk outside, which in the context of marriage, yes, it's vital, because your man met you when you were taking care of yourself and when you were glowing, and most of the time. And
Yeah.
so when you start letting yourself go in marriage, it's almost like this disappointment. And it kills intimacy. Like, let's be so honest. And let me also add, my husband takes extremely good care of himself as well. We both
Same.
have
Yeah.
felt that to each other. Like, he's only gotten more muscular and hotter since I've met him. And same with me. And that's always been like, that's been something we've talked about since we were dating, where it's like, we always want to be better, not just physically, not just like taking care of ourselves, but this applies to the gym. We want to be stronger for future kids, for when we're grandparents and we're taking care of grandkids and running around with them. I think that's so important. Taking care of our joints, our joint health.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
just doing all the things, not just for looks maxing, but also for like our physical health and physical strength. So I think that's important for that part. But then when we're talking about looking your best and self-care in general, it applies to every other area of your life. Because I don't know, let's say you own your own business and you're going to a business convention and you're meeting all these successful people. Instantly, they're going to judge you on what you look like. If you are extremely overweight, people are not going to think that you're a hard worker. And that's just the world we live in. And no one wants to be honest about that. But when you are physically fit, when you look like you take care of yourself, you don't have to be a Megan Fox. But I'm just saying, like, physically fit, in shape, take care of yourself, people will respect you so much more. It's also great for marriage, but in real life, it's great too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it says a lot about our culture that women will get super dressed up, great makeup, great outfit to go out to dinner with their girlfriends, but they cannot fathom doing that for their man.
Yeah. I made one of my first videos that went viral was me saying, like, you get dressed up to go to brunch with your girls, but not for when your husband comes home.
Yes.
And it's so true. It's like we get dressed up for everything else, and then your husband's like, "Wow, I haven't seen you like that in like a year." Like,
Yeah. Who's
like,
that? Yeah.
simple thing for every single woman to do tonight after they listen to this podcast is to put on a sundress, brush your hair, no bra, make him a steak, play some like slow country music, dim the lights. It's so simple. It will like change his entire mood.
Yes, it will make his day and probably his week and honestly maybe even his year. I could
Yeah.
not agree more. Um, can we talk a little bit about dating? Because I'm sure there's some single women listening to this that are like, how do you bifurcate this type of relationship treatment before you're married, right? Because it's like, do you really want to be giving a man this sort of wifey experience when you're not married to him? Obviously, you and I both think no. But before you got married to Noah, how did you approach that?
I think the biggest thing is not moving in together before marriage. And
Amen.
yeah, and what's so interesting is we had a lot of Christian family members and Christian friends saying that we should move in together before we got married because they thought that we were rushing, right? Like we'd been dating for less than a year. We were already talking about getting engaged, talking about getting married and moving away. And they were like, well, why don't you move in together for a couple years and see how it goes? And then get married. Like, this is really soon. And I was also 18. So, of course, they're like, you're young, you're naive, you're going to change your mind. Like, you should just move in together first. And I thought it was interesting coming from Christian family members because you would think that they would be all for us getting married before moving in together.
Yeah.
And we made the decision and we wrestled with this for a little while because we were getting so much influence. We're like, well, should we just move in and then wait to get married? Because we were going to plan this big wedding and everything. And well, it didn't really make sense because our apartment was available at this time. And so nothing made sense on paper. But I was like, you know what? I don't really want to spend 50K on a wedding. I think I'd like to just get married in the church. I think
Yep.
I would love to get married before we move in together. And my husband was like, yeah, we're going to have this conviction every single day that we live together that we're not married. And that's only going to cause strife in our relationship that would maybe make us break up and not even get married. So women will ask me all the time, well, should I cook for my boyfriend? Like, what are the certain things that I should do? And I'm like, I cooked for my boyfriend every now and then. Don't move in with him. Don't play
Yes.
house with your boyfriend until you are married. And I promise, like, the odds of you like breaking up before you get married because you moved in together and you think, oh well, I don't like the way that he puts his clothes on the floor, so this isn't going to work out. Like, just get married and figure it out.
1000%. I think whenever anyone asks me the question about moving in, my response is, well, do you want to get married? Because if you want to get married, don't move in with him. If you want to, if your priority is getting married, that is, and people don't like it when you describe it this way, but it's true. It is the only thing that you have as a woman, aside from sex, to be like, that is for my husband. I'm sorry, I'm not living with a man that is not married to me. It convolutes the relationship, yes, from an intimacy perspective, but from a financial perspective. You are not in theory, in practice, treating a man who is not your husband as your husband because you're sharing something that should be reserved for marriage, which is living under the same roof. And I think that it truly creates an inverted relationship where all of a sudden, I have never seen it where a woman moves in with a man, and I've seen this happen around me a ton, and she gets the ring in the amount of time that she wants. She has lost, and I know that people are gonna be like, oh, you don't need to manipulate a man. And it's like, it's not manipulation, it's priorities. Do you wanna get married or do you wanna be a living girlfriend? If you wanna be a living girlfriend, go for it. If you're fine with shacking up, go ahead. But don't expect that you're gonna move in with a man and all of a sudden he's also going to propose, because it very seldomly works that way unless you truly set expectations ahead of time.
Yeah, and society makes it seem like it's the next step before the proposal, right? Like, it's like, oh, we know we're boyfriend and girlfriend for a while, then we move in, then we get engaged. And I'm like, it doesn't always happen like that.
No.
Because the man, and you're right, it's not manipulation, but the man has no incentive to wife you up if you're already acting as his wife. There's no reason for commitment there. Like, you've already made a huge commitment by moving in together, by splitting rent, whatever it may be. I just think it's a beautiful thing, because what is if you're living together and already playing house with this person, then what is even the point of getting married? Just to have something on paper? Like, nothing's going to change. Whereas when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, then you become husband and wife. Everything changes. You move in together. Now you have an entire life together. You join bank accounts. Now it's our money, not just my money. It's such a beautiful thing. I mean, like I said, you become one flesh. And
Yeah.
if you're already doing that, dating, then to me, there's no reason to even get married.
Yeah, it's like God said, and then you became one, not, and then you became a bunch of loosely affiliated bank accounts, opinions, sexual experiences,
Yeah.
and potential. Like it doesn't work. And I think that the difference too is like if you have a God centered marriage, you don't need a trial run. And this was so different with my husband than it was with guys that I had dated in the past where we weren't aligned from a faith perspective. And I was like, oh, you're just never going to be the one that I marry. With my husband, it's like, why would we need a trial run? We are in this for life. The only way out of this is death, like truly. And that probably sounds dramatic to some people, but the way that you view marriage from a Christianity perspective is that it's a covenant. Like
But
you
that's
do
the
not
part.
Correct. You do not break that covenant. So yeah, I mean, I think the trial run it's more detrimental to relationships than it is helpful most of the time.
Absolutely. And I hate the idea of always having to like test the waters before you commit. Like,
Right.
if you are aligned politically, religiously, if you're aligned on kids, money, and sex, like those five things, done,
You're good. Yeah.
married. Like, there's these crazy criteria now for both men and women that society has set that just don't even matter. Like when it comes to living with someone, the way that they, I don't know, clean, the way that they I'm like,
You figure it out. Yeah. It's
yeah, you,
like
you figure it out. You have conversations about these things. Like, my husband is actually cleaner than me. Thank God.
I
I
love
love
that
it.
for you.
But
Yeah.
if it is something like him throwing, I don't know, like throwing his clothes on the floor, you just figure it out then because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. If you have found a good Christian man who aligns with you politically, who, you agree on kids and family and just the basic foundations, get married to him.
Amen. How did you know that your husband was the one?
I felt the Holy Spirit tell me.
Amen.
People are gonna say that's woo woo. That's you're just young and that's woo woo. But I sent him an audio message 2 weeks after we met, and I said, I just feel like you're going to be my husband. Let me know if that's something you're interested in, is getting married,
I love
and if
it.
so, let's continue. And like he was like, yes, I want to marry you. Like I'm on board. I'm in this for marriage. So we had
Yeah.
those conversations very early on. I think the first date, we actually went to the gym together at 5 in the morning. And the whole time we talked about politics and Christianity and how many kids we wanted and where we wanted to live. And I was like, sold.
Yeah. And I think some women are probably listening to that and being like, oh my gosh, if I said that to a guy, he would be like, ew. But I think the right guy would never feel that way. The right guy, like, that is how you weed out if a guy is wrong for you. You should feel comfortable on the first date saying, what are your goals for your family life? What are your goals for your career long term? Like, if you had a value prop for your family, what would that look like? What are going to be your familial values? And if a guy is weirded out by that, run.
Yeah, and that was going to be my exact sort of strategy, I guess. I
Yeah.
was like a little bit nervous to send that audio message, but I was like, I'm curious what his response will be. Will it be,
Mhm.
oh, I'm not looking to get married? Or will it be like, yeah, I'm on board? And
Mhm.
his response showed me that it was just further confirmation from God that that was the man I was supposed to marry, because I already felt nervous about saying that, but I was like, I'm going to set my intentions now and just see what he says.
Yeah.
And you're right, a good man whose values are in place and who has the right intentions will not be weirded out by you talking about marriage on the first or second date.
Yeah. I completely agree. How did your family react to you guys getting married? I mean, it sounds quick-ish, like a year-ish.
Yeah, a year.
Okay. And then, like, were they supportive? Were they apprehensive? Were people around you apprehensive about that? Because I got married, like, yeah, a year-ish, and there were definitely people in my orbit that were like, you're crazy.
For me, it was more so like my dad has told me since I was probably born that I needed to have a college degree before I got married, before he would like let me get married. And
Mm.
he definitely changed his mind on that. And now if you ask him, he's like, yeah, I don't even think a college degree is necessary for success at all.
I
So like he's
agree.
completely changed his mind. Listens to a lot of Charlie Kirk too. So like
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're all getting replaced by AI anyways. He's so funny.
Yep.
So that was something that came up when I was, I was 18, and they were like, well, you don't really have a set career, you don't have a college degree, you don't really have anything set in place financially. So what are you going to do? And I was just like, I trust God. I just want to marry him. Like,
Yeah.
I know this is going to work out. And so we didn't get a ton of pushback from family, maybe a little bit here and there on just like, are you sure?
Hmm.
You guys are young. Are you sure you want to do this? But nothing crazy. Very blessed and thankful in that regard. More of the pushback came from social media when I started talking
Really?
about how amazing marriage was. Yeah. After like a year after I'd been married, I started posting in March or April of 2025. So I haven't even
Okay.
been on social media a
Oh,
year.
wow. Wait, so recent.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Life has changed completely since then. But
Yeah.
I was just posting on TikTok at the time, and I remember I was doing like a get ready with me, talking about how like my marriage story, our engagement and like marriage story is pretty cool. Like we got engaged and then 3 days later got married and then 7 days later moved to a new city. Like it was just all very fast paced and it was really fun. So I was sharing that. All the comments, like majority of the comments were just like, oh my gosh, you got groomed. I feel so bad for you. We're 3 years apart. Or like, let me know when you get a divorce, or like,
Yeah.
we'll see the divorce in 5 years. Just like very negative women projecting onto me. And then I was like, I guess I'm gonna keep posting about this. It did well. It
Just
causes
hit a
hilarity.
landmine. Yeah, literally. But I mean, that's always what it is. Hey, tag me when they get divorced in 5 years. Like, at me when they get divorced. It's like, first of all, why would you ever wish that on someone? And secondly, why does it bother you so much to see someone who is young and beautiful and in love and happy?
I don't get it. People are very miserable.
Yeah.
Very, very miserable, not doing enough with their lives at all. They have no purpose either. And someone is hurting really deeply when there's someone who's been together 6 months and they're getting married, or someone who's really young and they're getting married. And all the comments are, yeah, there'll be a divorce soon. Like, let me know. Like, just kind of preying on their downfall. It's evil.
Yes,
It's completely evil,
it
actually.
is. Yeah, I agree. Do you feel like you get a lot of hate comments now? Because I feel like you've really found your audience.
I've definitely found my audience. I will say TikTok is definitely more negative.
What is with that? I feel like I always end up on the wrong side of TikTok, but now I'm like, oh, I think it's just TikTok is all the wrong side of the internet.
No, it's TikTok in general. It is 80% women, and the
Yeah.
majority of those women are liberal women. And then a lot of it is bots. And a
Mm.
lot of it, I've noticed that my Reddit trolls live on TikTok
Oh.
because, and I don't go on Reddit, but they will post like screenshots from Reddit onto my comments.
Oh.
And I'm like, is this just, you guys just like are on here, complaining about people you don't know? So
No.
Instagram 100% is so much
Yeah.
better. I've definitely found my audience on there. I get hate comments every now and then, but I'm like, it's from the same 5 people who are probably bots or just like
Mhm.
losers. But yeah, I have a really great community. So
Yeah, you do. The TikTok thing is very interesting. The Reddit thing is very interesting. It's like where the most miserable people on the internet commiserate. And it makes me sad because I've said this before. If I needed to talk about an influencer or talk about someone that I didn't know, I would just text my friends and be like, oh my God, did you see this? But
yeah.
I would assume that if you need to go to Reddit to do that, you don't have people in your orbit that you can talk to about stuff like that. And that is like a loneliness that genuinely I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah, exactly. And no one who is doing something with their life has the time or energy to go on Reddit and complain about a stranger or TikTok or whatever it is. Happy people just scroll.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many things on TikTok and Instagram that are like just so backwards and like things that I could respond to, but I'm like,
No,
Who,
I'm good.
who really
Yeah.
cares?
Who cares? Speaking of talking about other people, what do you think about women talking about their husband behind their back to their girlfriends, whether it be negatively or about their sex life or things like that?
I completely disagree with any form of it.
Yeah.
Um, there's no respectful way to talk about your husband to other people while he's not there. There's no respectful way to do it if you're speaking in any negative light, right? And I'm a big believer that if you're going through like a fight with your husband or some sort of argument, then you need to resolve that with him and not go to your girlfriends. I
Yeah.
think the first resort for women is to call up one of their girlfriends and start complaining about their husband. Meanwhile, the argument between you two isn't even resolved. So
Mm,
go to your husband and tell him and not your girlfriends. And then the sex life thing is it's weird for me. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail with my girlfriends about the sex that my husband and I have because he
agree.
would never do that with his guy friends. Like
Yeah.
men would never go to their guy friends and say, can you believe like I had this sex with Savannah last night and this is what we did? And
Yeah.
he would never do that. So I just think it's so odd that it's so normalized for women to do that.
It's so weird and it's inappropriate and it's awkward when you're in a situation where someone is talking poorly about their partner and you're just like not saying anything, like ejecting yourself from the conversation. But it's something like I couldn't care less about the awkwardness. It's just not appropriate. Like you said, there is
Yeah,
no respectful way to do it. And also, you and your husband are going to fix that situation most likely, right? That person that you told that to is never going to forget that about you and your husband.
100%. And they're always going to see your husband in a negative light because of the way that you've spoken about him.
Yeah,
Which is not
absolutely.
like keep those things private and only uplift your husband in public because it is the man you married. It's
Mm,
you are one flesh. He's part of your flesh. You guys are also going to most likely together hang out with that same group of friends, whether it be a double date or a group event. And now when he's with you, the whole time they're going to be thinking, well, she doesn't really like him. And I don't really respect him because he said this to her, or she said that he said this to her. And so it just ruins everyone's perspective of your dynamic. Whereas when you're only uplifting your husband in public and vice versa, the husband is only uplifting his wife around his guy friends and not complaining to them either, then everyone is going to see you as a power couple that they respect. They're like, your dynamic is amazing. Like we really respect your marriage. And it's going to be an amazing influence to those friends as well.
yeah, I think so many people look at quote unquote power couples and are like, how did they get to that place? And what if the secret was that they both had so much admiration for each other that not only was it evident between the two of them, but it was evident to every other person? It's almost like a psyop where you're like, you are doing a psyop on everyone to make them realize that your partner is as incredible as you already see them as.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the problems that we have, the arguments that we may have with each other, those are private. Those like
Mm,
that's in our marriage. And most of the time, couples are arguing about usually pretty private things, I would say. And so then bringing that into your friend group, it's like disturbing someone else's privacy without their permission as well.
mm, absolutely. You recently posted about you and your husband doing like a meeting at the beginning of the year where you basically had like a strategy meeting for your marriage to talk about your goals for the year, how you could support each other. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about what that looked like and how people could do it in their own marriage?
Yeah, so we do this thing where either once a week or bi-weekly, we sit down with each other, sometimes at a coffee shop. If it's like clean and quiet in our house, and sometimes we'll do it in the house, but I feel like getting out is the best for no disruptions. And so what we did at the beginning of this year, I actually used Chris Williamson's 2025 annual review template. I really liked it. Sometimes I'll make my own, but I just used his this year. And so we went through, and you could do this as an individual, but we really enjoyed doing it as a married couple. You sit down, you kind of review 2025 or the past year. And it was fun because I think a lot of times we just forget how many blessings we have or like how many things we've gotten through as a married couple. And so we were able to reflect on like the entire last year from January to December, which was really cool. There was basic questions like what was your favorite new vacation, your favorite new restaurant, the best meal that you had of 2025. So we're like thinking back to all of our dates that we've done when we went to new restaurants. And then it's more serious questions like what did you learn this year? What habits are you changing? Like what habits are you bringing into 2026? What are you starting this year? What are your main goals for this year? And because we're married, because we're one flesh, we do this together because my goals are also his goals and his goals are also my goals. And we share those together and we help each other grow and reach those goals.
I love that. What do you say to people, because I get these comments too, that are like, oh, well, you like talk about your husband like he's a provider and like he's this masculine guy, but you make all this money from social media, or like you've monetized your social media. So like you're a working woman. Like it's like a gotcha. What do you
Yeah.
say to that?
It's always to try to get a gotcha moment, right?
Yeah.
When I first started posting, I made this video like shortly after where I was talking about the fact that I don't have no problem with women working. For some reason, there's this notion on pages like my page and your page from women that make money from social media. And we talk about our husband being a provider, that we're saying that we don't make any money and that women shouldn't make money. And that's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying and the message that I try to push with my platform is that I genuinely enjoy the work that I do. I think it's extremely important for women to be passionate about what they're doing so that they are in tune with their femininity, with their creativity, with their intuition, other than women being forced into these corporate jobs that they hate. And every single day they're just going through this agony. So number one, I enjoy what I do. I think that's very important for women. Number two, I'm working for the benefit of my husband and my marriage and my family. What has been told to women is that they need financial independence in their marriage. So separate bank accounts. I have this stash of money that I'm saving, just in case something happens. No, my husband and I are completely transparent with finances. And I always think of the money that both of us make, but mainly that I make, as a benefit to our family. When we have kids one day, I want to take a big step back from social media. Mm-hmm. And so we're setting ourselves up in a way where I can do that. And then he can just be the provider. And then number three, I think that providing is not just one person. Like I made this other video where it's like, if your husband is providing for you, and like, let's say you make your own money and your husband makes his own money, and his money is going to the mortgage and the bills and the credit cards and whatever else it may be. And he's putting a roof over your head so that you can use the money that you make to get your nails done, your hair done, book a Pilates class, whatever it may be. Then he's still providing for you. Like he is still providing the lifestyle that you have. And I think women forget that. And when they see women like us saying, yeah, my man provides for me, they instantly think that he's the only one making money, but he is providing majority of my lifestyle, of my lifestyle. So I just think that the word provider has been misconstrued in that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that people also neglect the fact that provision isn't only financial. Like a man can be providing you with the ability to be at complete peace. A man can be providing you with the ability to have the home that you desire because he's contributing financially as well. Like I think that people get so tripped the same way with submission. They get tripped up on providing. And it's like that word is so much bigger than just like he's very financially stable. It's more so and or equally so, provision is so much bigger than that. And what I think about is like having that masculine provision brings me a type of peace that like money can never buy, truly.
Exactly, because I know that he has everything handled.
Yes.
Versus if I was just on my own, then it's like, oh, well, if I lose my income, if I lose my job, well, then I'm screwed. And I don't really know how to do this. I can't fix the AC when it breaks.
Yeah. Yes.
Little stuff like that. But I know that he is 2 years ahead of me. Women tend to think shorter term and men tend to think longer term. I know that he's way ahead of me in planning, and that gives me peace because I'm like, I have this amazing man that is way further ahead than me when it comes to planning. He already knows what to do. I can completely trust him. And you're right. That's a form of provision. It's not just financial. It's your peace. It's your sanity. It's the fact that you don't have to do life alone anymore.
Amen. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, two more questions. The first one is toxic masculinity real?
I just hate that phrase so much.
Yeah.
I just
Same.
hate it. If we're talking about like an abusive man or someone who is a serial killer,
Yeah.
just like an awful man, I guess you could use that phrase, but I just think that's like an evil person,
Mm.
not toxic masculinity. Because what they've done is applied toxic masculinity to a man being horny, or
Yeah,
like
no, literally.
a man like wanting to go shoot his gun or go hunting,
Or
or
like
the
being
fact
at the
that
gym and being jacked. Like, oh,
yes,
that's so toxic to take care of your body.
yes, it's incredible actually. Like
Yeah.
everything that they have called toxic, that is just natural male biology. So I try
Yeah.
to just not use that word, that phrase at all. I don't like it.
Yeah, I honestly view it as an oxymoron because I don't think true masculinity can ever be toxic. I think like this convoluted version of masculinity that again it's like this memeified like CNN masculinity where it's like it's not even real. It's clips that are taken out of context that make people seem so much more extreme than they actually are. That's what they've labeled as toxic masculinity, but like true masculinity is like the least toxic thing ever.
I 100% agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
true masculinity is taking care of women and children, for one.
Amen.
And if you're calling that toxic because you just want to be equal and take care of yourself and you don't think that women should be a protected class, then something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
True. Because if you look at society now, women, feminists specifically, will say, well, women are still oppressed because men, like, we're still oppressed by men. Like, we can't go out and walk in the dark. And I'm like, well, who do you think is going to protect you
Yeah.
from the people that are going to get you in the dark? It's going to be that masculine man that protects women and children. But because you guys have demonized masculinity so much, men don't even like, they're scared to open the door for you. They're scared to call you beautiful because they think you're going to bark at them. So we just destroyed the natural biology that men have. It's really sad. It's really
Yeah.
sad. I mean, thank God I have a masculine man because I
I
need.
truly. Yeah, and also like that again, that type of provision and being protected, it's something that only a man can do. Like are there women who yes, are incredibly strong and capable and jujitsu black belts and can do all of those things? Sure, but that's not the majority of us.
Yeah,
And the only people that can protect us from other men who are toxic, not masculine, are masculine men.
100%.
I totally agree. Okay, last thing. For women who feel like they're in a pattern of nagging their husbands, how do you get out of that? And what is the opposite of nagging? Because I think nagging is so corrosive and people get mad at me for that. They're like, it's just a natural human instinct. The honey-do list is natural. It's like, it's not natural. It's hurting your marriage,
Yeah.
truly. How do you stop that behavior?
Well, Proverbs says that a quarrelsome wife is like the continuous drops of rain, right? Like it's super annoying. No man wants to be nagged, and that is just a fact. I say fake it till you make it.
Mm,
Like literally, even if you don't trust him, even if you've gotten so far from that respect for your husband, just be quiet and say like whatever you think, and I trust you instead of nagging. Like no matter how much you want to nag, I think the more that you fake it till you make it, like you'll realize that the less that you nag your husband, the more that he'll step up, which will make you in turn be like, oh, I shouldn't have been nagging him in the first place because now look what's happening. So I think that like just start being super aware of it and changing what you say, no matter how hard it is. And then naturally you'll become much better at it because you see the benefit that it has in your marriage.
yeah, I completely agree. Okay, last thing. If you could give women one piece of advice, just one, to give them a better marriage, a better relationship, a better, posture amongst their husband, what would that one piece of advice be?
I know that I've said this a lot, but respecting him. And if you're single, The biggest thing that you can look for is marrying a man you respect, not just the man that makes you feel good. Because the man that
Mm.
makes you feel good, he makes you laugh. Okay, that's great. But if you don't respect him, not only are you going to be miserable for the rest of your marriage until you respect him, but that the intimacy is going to be destroyed. He's not going to be the man that he needs to be, or the man that he's going to eventually become in your marriage. And then for women who are married, like I said, fake it till you make it if you don't respect him. Whatever
Yeah.
you think, I trust you, babe. Like, it's your decision on this one. I promise it will change his entire perspective on you, on the marriage. And then the respect part also goes along with encouragement, which we talked about a little bit. The simple things like sending him a text while he's at work, like you did, where it's like, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for working so hard. Thank you for everything you do. So blessed to have you. Saying those things to him before you go to bed, saying them in the morning, it takes no effort at all, but will completely change your relationship.
I love it. Savanna, tell people where they can find you.
I am Savanna Faith Stone on all platforms.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Savanna. That was a great conversation. I think it's going to positively impact so many women. It was so good to meet you. I feel like we are so similar in so many ways, and I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Back to Basics. If you liked the show, please rate it, review, subscribe, send it to a friend. It really does mean the most to us. And we will see you next week for another episode.